Think about the combustion and the power and the fire and the force and the float and the fact that it blasts off into the sky and you're never going to see it again. Sprinters are doing that here on Earth. These athletes brush up against the true limits of human motion. You will never move that fast if you're not one of them. Ever. And I just think we should be amazed at someone who wants to make that their challenge. It's running as fast as humanly possible.
See new indoor PR.
This is The Science of Sprinting with Shawnti Jackson. Have you ever watched a rocket take off into the atmosphere? Think about the combustion and the power and the fire and the force and the float and the fact that it blasts off into the sky and you're never going to see it again. Sprinters are doing that here on Earth. These athletes brush up against the true limits of human motion. You will never move that fast if you're not one of them. Ever. And I just think we should be amazed at someone who wants to make that their challenge. It's running as fast as humanly possible.
See new indoor PR.
This is The Science of Sprinting with Shawnti Jackson. Have you ever watched a rocket take off into the atmosphere? Think about the combustion and the power and the fire and the force and the float and the fact that it blasts off into the sky and you're never going to see it again. Sprinters are doing that here on Earth. These athletes brush up against the true limits of human motion. You will never move that fast if you're not one of them. Ever. And I just think we should be amazed at someone who wants to make that their challenge. It's running as fast as humanly possible.
See new indoor PR.
This is The Science of Sprinting with Shawnti Jackson. Have you ever watched a rocket take off into the atmosphere? Think about the combustion and the power and the fire and the force and the float and the fact that it blasts off into the sky and you're never going to see it again. Sprinters are doing that here on Earth. These athletes brush up against the true limits of human motion. You will never move that fast if you're not one of them. Ever. And I just think we should be amazed at someone who wants to make that their challenge. It's running as fast as humanly possible.
See new indoor PR.
This is The Science of Sprinting with Shawnti Jackson. Have you ever watched a rocket take off into the atmosphere? Think about the combustion and the power and the fire and the force and the float and the fact that it blasts off into the sky and you're never going to see it again. Sprinters are doing that here on Earth. These athletes brush up against the true limits of human motion. You will never move that fast if you're not one of them. Ever. And I just think we should be amazed at someone who wants to make that their challenge. It's running as fast as humanly possible.
See new indoor PR.
This is The Science of Sprinting with Shawnti Jackson.
Hey,
What's going on?
what's
Hey.
happening? Hi, Shawnti.
Hi.
This is our pregame. This is behind the scenes to the show. This is the exciting part that we have for 1 minute and 5 seconds. I was late. I'm still downloading. I'm trying to edit one video to bring into the show. It's still uploading. It says it has 1 minute to upload. It's gonna be funny. It'll be worth it. So so I might have to toss it to you guys while I do a quick edit on my phone and then upload it into the system here. Cool. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
I'm doing pretty good.
Shawnti, are you in Fayetteville or are you in North Carolina?
No, I'm still in North Carolina.
Okay, nice. It's probably like hot and steamy there.
Oh, it's very hot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
The last time I was in North Carolina is when we shot the episode for the stuff swimming with David Curtis, which was awesome.
Yeah.
They have like an amazing facility. The U.S. swim team went there before they went to Paris. That's where they did their final practices.
The facility here is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's at 5 o'clock, so this is officially we are live. Although we were just live anyway. So, world's greatest live show back again. This is whatever day in the Olympics it is. It's that day. So I think it's day 11, day 10, something like that. But joining again today, we're waiting for Henry Wynne to join us as well. But we got Shawnti Jackson, we got Kyle Garland. Kyle's back for his second round.
Yeah.
We had so much fun. We barely started covering things and the show was over.
I know, right?
Yeah. So why don't you guys introduce yourself? Kyle, why don't you go first, and then we'll bring in the first timer on World's Greatest Live Stream Show, Shawn.
Okay, perfect. Yep. Whoever was watching 2 days ago or so, I'm a Garland decathlete from Philadelphia, live down in Georgia. And I'm glad to be back on World's Greatest Live Stream.
I'm Shawnti Jackson. I'm a sprinter from Wake Forest, North Carolina, and I currently go to school at the University of Arkansas. And yeah.
How did you like freshman year?
It was a big adjustment, especially going just on my own from always being with my parents all the time and being a child that's like always in the house. It's a huge adjustment on that part, and from going from my dad coaching me all the time to like a totally different coach. It's just a huge adjustment that took a lot of time getting used to. It was nice overall.
It is like going to school, going to college is different, especially the first time you do it. No matter how much you traveled, and you've traveled a lot, it's an adjustment.
It's a huge adjustment.
Henry.
Hi there.
So Henry, I'll let you do your intro before we start going around the horn with some conversation, because we have a lot to talk about. There's so much to talk about today. So Henry,
a quick intro. So my name's Henry Wynne, 1500 meter runner of the Brooks Beast Track Club. Shawnti, I like seeing the path, I think we call it these days. But so just got sixth at the Olympic trials, 351 miler, 332, 1500 guy. Got some teammates competing at the Olympics, so excited to be cheering them on and talking all sports, but mostly all track with the last few times I've been on.
Yeah, I think this one will be like 99% track.
Although I have a new favorite sport, second favorite sport.
What do you got?
Volleyball.
Beach or indoor?
Indoor volleyball. Those guys are jumping so high, it's insane.
Crazy.
I don't know. No, I think Quincy, if you're ready to pin some trivia, he had a trivia piece. Well, I'll let him do it. Trivia on how many times a volleyball player jumps in a given match. So we'll see if Quincy can pull that up and drop it in the chat.
I'm new to the sport, but I got guesses.
Oh, that's all right. Hey, we need sponsors so we can bring in, we could call out, I don't know, DraftKings or something. What are the odds that Henry's going to guess this? What's the over-under? I think the over-under is like, I don't know, 80 jumps.
Got to be over.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys, how do you know so much about volleyball suddenly? Shawnti, what do you think? Do you think it's more than or less than 80?
I feel like it's about somewhere right there.
Here's my math. It's 25 points in a match. There's 5 games in a match, right? I don't know all the lingo. The front line, they've got to be jumping. So let's say you average 1 jump per point. That's over 125 jumps, but they're rallying it back and forth because they're blocking it. So no, we gotta.
All right, now getting a peek inside the mind of a mid-distance runner.
Not just a mid-distance runner. I'm clearly a mathematician as well.
Exactly. Quincy, our producer, is a mathematician. He came out of Northeastern, so we'll see. We'll see what he's going to put up. So where do you guys want to start? I kind of want to like dig right in, but I don't know where to go first. The 100 women, the 100 men, we'll talk about what's coming up on relay, the 1,500 semis. I mean, where do you guys want to go first?
There's so much. We can start at the 100 since they've concluded us.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's start the 100 women first. I'm gonna toss it to Shawnti. Like, what did you see there? What did you expect going in? Like, and kind of break that down a little bit.
Honestly, my bet was Shelly, but it kind of caught me off guard when she said she wasn't running after the prelim. And then I had faith in Sha'Carri. But then when I saw them walk out, Julian she was just too nonchalant. She didn't look scared at all. She looked very confident, and like she just looked fit. Everything was just to a point. I knew you could just tell she was locked in. And so she's really good at executing a race. And I know Sha'Carri, her blocks is like a up and down sometimes. Like sometimes they're really good, sometimes she might trip a little bit. So I had faith in Sha'Carri until they walked out, and I was like, I think Julian might get it.
I had Shelly Ann too. That's all I'm gonna stop there and let you guys dig in. Kyle, what did you see?
What
were you predicting? Yeah.
I said, and I think we talked about it a little. I was when I was last on, I said I wanted to see Julie in it just because I got to know her a little bit at the Bowerman ceremony and everything, and but it's so tough to go against reigning world champion. But at the same time, like Shawnti said, Sha'Carri's start is up and down, so you never know what you're going to get. And I knew, and I said before I was talking to my family about it, I was like, if Sha'Carri gets left whole, it's going to be really tough for her to come back to final, especially with the rain and everything else. So once I saw Julian's face when she came out, I knew she was ready. She looked very confident in herself and what she had going. And once I saw the start, I was like, yeah, it's just about her. So it was a super exciting race. So it had me on the edge of my seat. I almost couldn't sit down. Felt like I was out there. My heart pounding.
How about you, Henry? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm obviously not quite as versed in the sprints, but I knew obviously Julian Alfred was one of the favorites to win, but I really wanted to see Sha'Carri get dub. And so I don't know, just right as the race started, Julian just took over. I mean, the start was amazing. Sha'Carri has, she's more, can come from behind, pull a little bit of like a no allows, but it just seemed like Julian Alfred on the day was, head and shoulders above everybody else, and she wasn't back. So it was pretty exciting to watch, and it looked like everybody was, graceful or at least, but happy with their performances afterwards, which is good.
How much of an indicator is like, because in semis I think Sha'Carri had a slower block start as well in the semis. Is that an indicator that she's not clicking yet, or is it just okay? That's just one time, Because we all were saying that in my house too. We're like, oh, she did have a slow start, but is that real? Does that carry over anyway?
I definitely think it can. I mean, but at the same time, knowing how Sha'Carri's start isn't the best part of her race, I think many people think about it as much or take that into account because we've seen her come from behind many times before. It's just kind of, hope she can get a little bit of a better reaction done in the finals after we saw what she did in the semis. But, I mean, I don't think that's the biggest deal for her. She's not even about it as much.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in these in prelims and heats and everything they're kind of shaking off the travel, they're shaking off the nerves a little bit. So Noah Lyles didn't win his prelim, and people were talking trash about him. It wasn't a fast time, he wasn't running well, like all that kind of stuff. And it really is just like, he said himself he kind of underestimated the competition, but I think it could have also been a little bit of, he just traveled to Paris, he's in a new environment, he got the nerves. Like, as cool and collected as he is, I think it's possible not to be nervous in that situation. So he's never going to tell his competition, but that's probably kind of playing into it. And then obviously you get through the round, you get to the final, and that's when you tested your legs out. You're feeling good, already in the final. So the weight of making it there, and now it's just everything you have. So I don't think it's too much of an indicator necessarily.
Yeah.
I didn't think too much of it either because I remember last year she wasn't having the best rounds at Worlds and came out and ended up winning Worlds, so I really didn't think too much of it.
Shawnti, when how much, who in all of those rounds and all of those races had you looked up to when you were much younger than you are now? And you're very young now.
Honestly, I didn't really start getting into track until like 3 years ago. So I really look up to nobody. Even now, I just do track for fun. I'm just now learning like my facts and stuff about track. So honestly, I didn't look up to anybody. My dad. Really.
There you go. I was going to ask you, I'm like, how about the guy in the house?
My dad really, but he tried to keep track out of the house. Like he didn't force me to run track. He didn't like brag about track. Like I saw bringing in medals, but he never bragged about it. Like told me the significance behind it. I mean, I get participation medals all the time, so I never really I didn't know how good he was until like recently.
Hey, your dad has a nickname as good as Batman. Do you call him Batman or do you call him Dad?
No, I'll call him Dad. He's called Dad.
Just checking on that. All right, guys, let's move into. You want to move into the 100 because that was just insane.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that delay before. I don't know what was going on. I saw press. There was something going on the track or something. Press conference. They said. Did you guys hear about it?
I didn't actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they mentioned it, and Noah was like, "Oh, that's what it was," but I didn't hear what they had said. But all right, who wants to go first on this one?
I guess
you two know it.
I think more than the end result of the three guys that were on the podium, you look at just across the whole race, that was one of the fastest Olympic finals there have been. I mean, you have the top 8 guys, 8th place is 9-0 or something like that, 1st through 8th. It's when do you have 7 guys that go sub 9-9 in an Olympic final?
Well, there had never been a sub 10 who didn't make the final.
Yeah, that's incredible in itself. That's 993 was the last time qualifier to make it to the final, which is insane. So I knew it was going to be something insanely fast and a crazy tight race. So to see the ultimate outcome was incredible to watch.
Shawnti, what did you think? What did you see?
I know it kept saying he was going to bring it home for America and stuff, but I don't know the Jamaican guy name. The guy that got second, I thought he would win it. Yeah, I thought he was going to win it, or him or the guy from South Africa. I thought they were going to have it. Especially, like, Noah in his rounds, he looked tired and, like, he just didn't look like Noah. But he pulled it together. He pulled it together really fast. But it was a really fast race. It was really close. I didn't know who won from looking at the camera view.
I don't think announcers knew who won. They called out Kimco winning it, and everybody's
Uh-huh.
standing around looking at the results.
Yeah.
It was I realized that was his personal best as well. So really like bring it all together at the right time.
Totally. I just want to drop in this link here. I mean, this photo kind of says it all. Let's see if it's going to pop here or not. But yeah, I mean, literally, I think there was a body length between everybody, right? If you just took body and you know, they were running, that was body length.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tweet's not loading, but it. And then I was saying to my wife when we were watching, I'm like, think about it, like, that's a still frame. When they're moving.
Yeah.
Like, right, Shawnti, when you guys are doing that distance is nothing. Like, in the show with Science of Movement, we did an episode with Devin Allen, so it was the Science of Hurdles. And I had the doctor in our interview with her. I gave her my phone, and I said, I want you to see how fast you can start and stop the stopwatch. And she could only do it as fast. I had to do it 20 times. She was like, and the fastest was 0.15. She could start a watch. That was the length between first, fourth in the hurdles when Devin finished fourth in Tokyo. That was the distance between first and fourth, 0.14. So she couldn't even hit the stopwatch.
It's crazy.
Right? So think about it. This was even closer than that.
Yeah.
Between
8 guys.
8 guys.
Yeah.
I used to do a presentation, when I had my ad agency, and it was a photo similar to that with Usain Bolt, but it was like Bolt was much further ahead, but everybody else was like packed like that, and you're like the most famous person in the world, someone you never heard of. That's kind of how it goes,
Yeah.
right? But let's talk about that for a second. This is athletics. This is, in this case, sprinting. This is how it goes. Like, this is what you guys sign up for. So talk about that a little bit, about that kind of, you know, I'd say chasing those medals, because I said it the other day, and I now have a lesson on that. So talk about that concept of how do you you put all in line, and fractions, seconds may be the difference of you know, kind of what you see as the pinnacle in your athletic career versus, you know, disappointment and heartache.
I think it just makes our sport so much sweeter, and that much sweeter, you know, just because it's like we know every day going to practice that we're working for this fraction of a second, or this little minuscule time, or one extra lean, or just a little execution point that we can really dial in our race or our respective event. So it's like it just puts us in a position where, you know, it's like when we actually see that fulfilled, it like makes it a lot sweeter. But it's just the fun of it, and that's what makes our event so unique. There's not many other sports in the world that, you know, can divvy up somebody's glory and somebody's defeat within minuscule amount of seconds. So I think that's what makes us such great athletes and such great individuals, and why our sport is so exciting to watch.
Yeah. I think it's cool too. Like, as you try to improve as an athlete, you know, like you talk about, you know, I have friends reach out to like, should I take X or Y supplements? Should I do this or that? Like, listen, it's not really going to make much of a difference. But like for the top, who's like the 0.0001%, you are trying to get like tiny fractions. So say sleeping 30 more minutes is going to give you a 1% benefit. That actually matters to everybody in our position. So it's like, you really, I mean, if you thought of it all at once, it might sound a bit stressful, but you can just, you know, you get into a routine, you do the smart things, and like you're making sure you make those decisions and build them into your routine. So, you know, I think you have to be on top of it, especially as a sprinter, where, you know, 0.1 is the difference between first and eighth in this final. You know, you go back like months and months, they've been preparing. It's those tiny decisions along the way that separate them at the end of the day.
Shawnti, what is it about you that loves to race and loves that challenge, I guess?
I feel like every day you put yourself at a risk of your body making all these sacrifices just to win or lose by a point millisecond, and I think that just makes it more fun, because you're just putting yourself on the line every time, and it's just practice isn't fun, but going out there and running the best you can and seeing yourself improve, it's just that's what's fun to me personally.
The idea. So Kyle, I want to throw it back to you.
Okay.
Because you're practicing for 8 different events. I mean, for 10 different events. Is practice fun?
It can be. It has its ups and downs. I think there's time practice is absolutely amazing, and there's other times where it's just completely grueling. You know, a guy, I'm 6'5", 225 on a good day. You know, training for a 1500, and Henry, you might enjoy that a little bit more than I do. That's never fun. But I mean, you know, there's areas where, I mean, I kind of understand, and I know that, you know, those moments of pain and those moments of it not being fun, you know, are going to make the end result, and that little millisecond talk about is like, that's what's going to make that more fun. If I can kind of endure that and myself in a position where I can get it done, regardless of how I feel about it, the end result is going to be even better, just because I know I overcame that big goal of not having fun to get to the fun. It really turns into fun, you know, just because you know you're striving for that end goal in the end of the day.
Yeah, I realize just looking at you guys, like we got ultimate speed.
Mm-hmm.
We have, you know, kind of speed meets endurance in Henry, and we have the ultimate kind of you know, jack of all trades athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I want to throw it to you guys to ask questions of each other, because we kind of have 3 different people, and I'm really interested to bring you guys together. I want to kind of turn it to each of you to ask questions of each other. It could be on anything, on something we saw during the Olympics, on something advice on the circuit, or whatever. So I'll let you guys choose who's going to ask who.
I mean,
I actually have a question for Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
When you're practicing, how do you practice for 10 events without overworking yourself?
Yeah, that's always a tough question. It's a question I get. I think it's in part trusting the plan that coach puts together. I mean, and then ultimately it's just kind of in your limits. Some days there's days where I feel absolutely amazing and I want to go out and practice every event. It's like my body feels good for the one, minuscule time that is going to feel good throughout a season. So it's like, okay, I got to get those work out. But sometimes I have realized that it's like, okay, I got to stick to the plan. Today's a sprint day, or today's just a jumping day, or today might just be a plyometric day. I got to stick to that specific plan rather than trying to get too greedy and try to work on any different things. So there's days that I'll go out to practice, I'll do an easy warm up, and then I'll do some quick plyometric work, or I'll just do a complete rehab day, or coach on me, go get in the pool and you got a 20-minute swim or whatever that might be. It's like you just kind of got to listen to your body a lot more, just because like you have to endure so much more throughout a long span of time. So it's really just about trusting everything, knowing that your body is going to be prepared. I mean, I'm doing these events for so long, so ultimately in the end of the day I'll be ready to compete, but just refining rather than trying to big headway each day.
Is there a lot of room for improv on that, by the way, or is it your skills pretty set?
Oh yeah, there's always improv. Some days I might not feel the best to jump. My body might feel kind of flat, so we can switch on or take a day off. So we're always super constructive with the way my plan looks. It never looks the same each week. There's always something that might change or fix up or different or whatever else. And then at the end of the season, we kind of go back to the drawing board. We look at what worked the best, what didn't work, and so it's always changing. Every day something different, or something that we thought we were going to do that might not always happen.
Shawnti, I want to ask, how often in training do you do like 100-meter all out in training? Like, do sprinters kind of know where they're at, before you go to a race?
With me, I'm not like a sprinter, so I do a lot of I'm like a more of a strength-based sprinter, so I do a lot of more quarter-mile work, and I do like my sprint stuff like towards meet day or like towards like the in the season. So I never ran. I don't think I've ever ran all out 100, but I have a couple workouts that I'm comfortable with, and if I hit my certain time in those workouts, I know like, oh, I'm running fast, or I'm about to PR, or I'm the strongest I've ever been. I think the most I've done to all out 100 was 100 repeats at like 11:09. And then sometimes I don't know how to pace 11:09, so I'm just running. So depending on how I come through with that, is how I gauge like how fast I'm.
Cool. Kyle, I love watching decathletes run the 15, by the way, because it's the only event where, like, I mean, you dust me and everything else, but it's just like the last event,
Yeah.
like they're having the worst time ever out there.
Yeah, I mean, the craziest thing about that is like the way it looks. Like when I'm running 15, I feel like I am flying. Like I think I am moving as fast as possible. I feel like I could run with y'all. In reality, I know I couldn't. But just be and I mean, put it to perspective. PR, it's not the best, 441, and I saw some 1500 rounds. Guys were coming through at 332, and I like thought about it. I was like, I came through with a lap left at like 332. I was like, gosh, it makes me respect the event, and like I get older, mature sport a lot more. I begin to respect other events that I don't always relate with, and be the decathlete allows me to, and I respect what you guys do, man. It's absolutely incredible just to be able to have that crazy endurance and to put bodies through that, because it's not easy. It's not at all, and I know the mileage that you guys have to kind of endure through the weeks and everything else. It's super impressive, dude. Super.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. You have a cool perspective because you get to actually do all, like, most every event. So you 10, and so you get to see, like, obviously you're great as a total point score for all of them, but then you get to see like Armando Duplantis go do a pole vault. Like, you can compare yourself. You are already a great pole vaulter to somebody who's like the best who ever do it. So it must be a cool perspective to be able to be like, oh, that's like the next level right there.
Yeah, it definitely is. It allows me to learn so much. So it's cool. It's super unique.
What's your favorite event out of the 10?
I'd either have to say the hurdles or the high jump. The high jump has been my specialty event that I've been doing the longest. And the hurdles, I like the aggression of it. It's like it's the combination of a sprint, but then you throw barrier in there to make it so much harder. I just like that. It's like I never really remember my races unless I'm watching a video of it. I can't like tell you what I did, how to change it, unless I'm like watching it or something. So I think just like being able to put myself in a position to turn my brain off and just know that the rhythm of the hurdles is kind of going to come because of the reps that I've done in practice. So I think that's cool. Super unique about it.
Hey Kyle, on again with the decathlon, do you guys ever bring in like kind of like specialists from each event? Like I know. Do you still train at University of Georgia?
Yeah.
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 So I mean, there's so many great athletes that have come, and I know obviously there's a lot of great decathletes that
Mhm.
come to Georgia as
Yeah,
well. But
for sure.
is that something that you guys ever done?
Yeah, we do it all the time. I mean, I integrate a lot of my specific event workouts with the front runners. I do a lot of work with them, especially the past couple of years. And we had Matt and Elijah. I trained with them all the time. My running workouts. I'm gonna do a lot of good workouts this coming season with Chris if he all goes well. He comes back and everything. So I mean, I vault with the vaulters and I throw with our shot putters. And funny enough, and actually a cool experience. Tom Walsh, one of the best ever shot put throwers. He trains. He has a connection with Don Babbitt, our throws coach. So he comes in the summertime and he's training out there, leading up to World Championships and Olympics and stuff. So I get to work with him. I pick his brain a little bit too. So I get to work with everybody.
That's really cool. I didn't realize, and it was a bummer to see Tom have to pull out of the shot
Yeah.
put. It was a real bummer.
Yeah.
The I did want to see if want to pull up the video if Quincy's ready. Video of the Shawnti show, the science of sprinting.
Have you
And
ever
again,
watched a
when we
rocket
you control
take
the
off
audio
into
here.
the atmosphere?
Click it out.
Think about the combustion and the power and the fire and the force and the float and the fact that it blasts off into the sky and you're never going to see it again. Sprinters are doing that here on Earth. These athletes brush up against the true limits of human motion. You will never move that fast if you're not one of them. Ever. And I just think we should be amazed that someone who wants to make that their challenge. It's running as fast as humanly possible.
Some new indoor PR.
This is The Science of Sprinting with Shawnti Jackson. Have you ever watched a rocket take off into the atmosphere?
So, I wanted to play that because I wanted to kind of break it down a little bit. Shawnti, when we started editing that episode, we had a tough time figuring out kind of the point of view of how to edit it because it's almost like most everyone can run, so it's kind of like, how do we make that seem unique? And once we started to really dig into the kind of, like, I asked a question of the physician who's there. So when Shawnti's on the ground, she's slowing down. When she's in the air, she's slowing down. So she doesn't want to be on the ground and she doesn't want to be in the air. She's like, yeah, that's why she's moving as fast as she can. So there is some weird science stuff in this where you go, everyone's kind of, pretty much everyone's going, hey, I race you to the tree, like when you're a little kid, and it's like, but you guys are pushing in the world of sprint. Let's stick there for 1 minute, pushing your body to the absolute limit. Do you see it that way, Shawnti? Do you? I know you're kind of coming into this, right, as an athlete, but how do you see that side of things?
I do feel like I'm pushing my body up to this limit, but I don't feel it until after. I feel like while you're sprinting, to me, I know I have a race if I'm going slow in my head. Like, it may seem crazy, but like, if I'm like, if my jogging seem like, if in my head, if I see going like really slow, like I could feel my body, like my feet actually hitting the ground and I like my palm, my arms, and I know I'm in tune with my body and I'm able to run the fastest I can. I know it probably sounds crazy, but it makes sense, but don't.
I understand that because I sprint. Like, I actually said after my running picture, I was in the 100. I ran 1064, 1065 or something like that. And I was like, that was the easiest 1065 I've ever ran in my life. And I remember years ago, I was struggling to run that fast. Like, I knew I wasn't in top shape, but I knew I was stronger than I've ever been. So I was like, and that's what sprinting is. See a lot of sprinters, their face is super relaxed and look at a guy like Noah, his races, he doesn't grit at all. He's just super in tune. It's almost robotic just because he's done so many rep things where it's like he just knows one foot is just going to go in front of the other. If he hits good positions, keeps his body, he'll be moving fast. So that's ultimately what sprinting is. Sprinting in a sprinter's mind is super slow, but to the general public, it looks super fast, which is
By the way, guys, and then Henry, I want to pull you into this part of the conversation, but this is one of the things I love about track and field. There is no kind of gender separation in track and field. It's one of the things they really talk about it on the NBC broadcast, but it's one of the things I love. You don't go, oh, it's WNBA. It's just 100-meter women, 100-meter men. But I was thinking when you were talking, Kyle, being a sprinter, and your times are kind of in the zone of the women. So which of the female 100-meter sprinters do you kind of look up to? Do you kind of draw and pull on to say, I like how she's doing this or that? Is there one in particular that you've looked at?
I don't think there's one in particular. I mean, I've always been, I'm not like an analytical guy by any means. Like math and numbers isn't really my thing, but I just love to study the sport. So anybody that does something flawless, I'm going to watch them and can like incorporate that in me. Because like you said, it's like there is no gender specification. So everybody ultimately does stuff the same. So it's not like, I mean, maybe hurdling might be a little different with the height difference and such. But when it comes to sprinting, if somebody is getting their knees up in front of them, like, Sharika Jackson does absolutely incredible with it. And Lane Thompson, when she was running at her prime, she was the best mechanical sprinters out. Felix, so I take something from everybody, and I kind of use that to my advantage just because it's like I can learn from anything and everything that somebody does, especially if they're running faster times than me. So it's like I can use that. I can use that to my advantage, no doubt.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. So, Henry, they were talking a little bit about this concept of relaxing. And I know you kind of, in 100 meters, you kind of have to replay it over and over to kind of start to break it down because it's going so fast. The good thing about the 1500 is you guys are out there enough so we can see you. So we were looking at the semis from yesterday. It was the semi, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what did you see with Josh? And just so everybody knows, Henry, one of Henry's training partners is Josh Kerr, the great 1500-meter runner from Great Britain. But talk about that a little bit, Henry, what you saw in that race yesterday.
I think 15, you are looking for who's looking comfortable, who's running smart races, who's running confidently is another big one. Because at times, somebody who might have done well at the U.S. trial, they go to the Olympics and it's a different competition. They run dimly and, maybe they don't advance to the final just because what has been working for them. Now that they're a little bit more nervous, they don't want to do it on international stage. So the good with Josh and some of these other guys is, I got to give a shout out to Yarn Goose as well from the U.S. Like he went out there and just led the entire way, which is super nerve-wracking. It makes sense because he had the best PR in his heat, strongest guy, but then it's a whole nother thing to do it in front of a, however 80,000-person stadium with the best guys in the world chasing you down. So I think when you can see running confidently like that, running their own, dictating, especially on a stage where, the 11 guys behind you are some of the best guys in the entire world, that can give you confidence in your performances. And with Josh, I think it's his sixth global final row or something like that. So it's not nerve-wracking for him to make to the final. Obviously there's pressure on him and he wants to for his own sake and because he obviously wants to win. But it's different. It's like for most of us to go to the US, you're like, all right, I got to make this final. For him, that kind of level is the Olympics. He's like, I need to make the final because I've done it so many times before. So he goes out there, knows exactly how to execute. And his heat was Jakob, Kohlacker, him, and a few other very good guys who have made the semis. But those guys were the kind of the cream of the crop. And they just went out there and they got a line. They didn't exert any extra energy. They were running the rail. They weren't yo-yo back and forth. They weren't kind of like running in lane 2 like some people do. You can really tell who is meant to be there and who's kind of lucky they through based on how they run these rounds. Because it's like somebody, Josh or Jakob or Cole, who are to be in the final, they go out and you're never going to see them make a dumb move. Somebody's not going to cut them off. They're going to hold their position. And while you might look back, you probably are watching those guys up front. You could see further back, kind of in the pack. That's where people are shoving each other and letting the race be dictated to them. And so I just saw him running confidently. He looks strong. I think that everybody's kind of holding their cards close to their chest, including Jakob and Cole and Yard. Like, they don't want to show everything they have in the prelim, and it's a little bit of a game of chess, maybe poker. You don't want to show your cards too early, and so I think they could have run much faster yesterday. Josh could gone past Jakob. They could have had it, but they don't care about the prelim. They care about the final. So I think it's going to be an exciting one on Tuesday.
Did you watch it, Kyle? 15?
Yeah, I saw some of it. I was watching them, and I watched some of the plays of it. Like, just how Henry said. I mean, I think what's super impressive about it is how these vets like are able to hold composure. It's like Henry said, they're not making any dumb mistakes. They're going to their comfortable spot and they're just sitting there. They're not trying to do anything special, and you can really see it in being a person that runs the 15, not as competitively, but runs. You can see where people are just getting through to get their spot into the final. And you see guys have a lot more room in the tank to prove to run faster. And I think the final is going to be absolutely blistering. I think this will be one of the most exciting finals. I think because you just have so many different personalities in the race too. And I think that's the anticipation and that the sport needs, just to have the personalities to make it as exciting as possible. So I'm really excited to see the outcome of the final, but I'm definitely rooting for Josh. I've always been
Let's go.
And I want to see him take the glorious gold. So that'll be good. That'll be
yeah. I think it's amazing how him. I mean, I'm not a big Jakob fan. Obviously, I'm Team Josh all the way, but it's amazing how these guys are like handling the pressure, because it's not like they're just at the Olympics competing. And some people they'll get a medal if they weren't a favorite, so it's like this big thing. The guys are there and they have all the expectations of the world to get this gold medal. So they've been talking trash. They have both their countries fully behind them. Also, just a lot of pressure. I mean, I saw a Sunday Times article about Josh, and it was like, one of the quotes was, he has the opportunity to become Olympic legend or a tricky question, a pub quiz night trivia game. And I'm like, that's the difference between winning this championship for him and then getting second. So there's a lot of pressure. And obviously that's a bit exaggerated, but he's going out there with the full expectations of winning. And it kind of be a make or break on a huge career so far. But they're handling it very well. I think they're just off of, they're off social media. They're not really answering text messages. They're not, I think they're probably just watching a lot of Netflix or YouTube or whatever, just relaxing in their hotels, not worried about all this external noise.
Hey, I attempted to bring Jakob into the show. So, I have to make the ask. I don't
think I could be on there with him. I'd be talking too much trash.
I had a plan. My plan was bring him on first without you, Henry. I was going to leave you in the green room there.
I was getting heckled this morning at track. Some people were yelling Team Jakob at me, and I'm like, I'm about to fight you guys. I think it was a high schooler, so I could do anything about it. But just being in the vicinity of John, one of his training partners, I'm in some of the heat as well.
That's funny. Shawnti, what is really kind of on your attention so far in the Olympics, whether it's in the sport world or beyond? What are you really liking?
I like how right now I like how the sprints are so unpredictable. Right, they are right now, because as you see, Noah Lyles didn't have the best prelim stuff. But now a lot of people are having the best rounds but pop out at the end, or they're having the best rounds and they'll win and not seal the deal, especially with the 200 going right now. But I'm also hyped to see the 1500, even though I don't watch that much. I don't know much about it. I know I talked to Josh Kerr a little bit before and know how disciplined those guys are. It's not. I know some races, some people like mess up at the end or sub, so races are like intense. But I think this race is gonna be more intense because I know how those two racers are very disciplined. They know how to run their own race and smart. So I feel like they're gonna leave you at the edge of your seat with knowing like whose strategies like pull it off the most. Even though I've seen Josh Kerr, obviously. But I feel like that'll be a really good race to watch.
The sprinters, they need to make next season of Sprint on Netflix, so they can't be just going through the rounds easily. They need some anticipation.
I want to go into two areas. One, I mean, let's just stick it at the 1500 for the moment, and I want to come back to men's 100. And Henry, I'll put it to you. We've talked a little we talked about race strategy, but we haven't talked race strategy. Now, obviously, we don't want to give away any strategies, but how many like runs do you have? So like I noticed in the semis, like the only top two were going. So for maybe for Josh it wasn't stressful, but as I'm looking at him, like, okay, I don't want to get him get caught in the pack over there. Like, but he quickly was like, all right, I'm done with being here. I'm moving out around and I'm getting up front. Like I'm gonna be in it. But how many runs do you have at like where Jakob started way in the back and after that first I think 3/4 of a lap? Talk about that idea, like how many kicks or how many extra pushes do you have when you're a Jocker and Jakob?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you can only really test it at the Olympics. Jakob can go out there and he can go in the back and he can be confident, and he could have messed up and not made the next round if he misjudged the competition. So he knows his training. He's been there, done that a lot of times. He's a gold medalist, so he was confident that he could get top 6 doing that. So I think you don't really get to practice the prelims and the finals very often. Like you just have to train and hope for the best and hope you feel good. And so I think I would never expect Josh to do something like Jakob does. He's not going to leave it up to that much of a chance. And the problem with like going to the back and jogging around and kicking is you open the door for some people maybe not as talented, people that have good kick but they can't quite run a 3:32. Maybe they have a personal best of 3:4, but they have a good close off of it. And so you kind of just open up the door a little bit too much. There could falls, you could get tangled. Any number of things can happen. And so those guys, I mean, they are obviously extremely confident in themselves. And so for Jakob to do that, that's kind of like his style. He's done that in a few diamonds and things like that where he goes to the back. It's actually a pretty smart move when you think about it, because everybody just sprints the first meters in like 12 seconds and then they go down and they end up going through 300 at like 41. And so everybody does that every single time. He just runs like an even split 300 and then finds his way to the front. So it looks more dramatic than it is. It's not that crazy of a move, I'd say, just because it's a smoother start. With like guys like Josh and Jakob and obviously Cole and Yard, they don't get to race each other championship style race very often. I mean, Olympics is obviously every 4 years, the World Championships, but they race each other in diamond leagues, whereas these pacers, and it is a different dynamic because tomorrow he's going to have to go to the front. He knows who it's going to be. It could be maybe Yard's feeling confident after his semi he goes for it, and but he's going to have to know that Jakob and Josh are right behind him, using him as kind of chum and butter a little bit for the big shark. And so it's going to be interesting. I don't know how it's going to play out necessarily, because I just don't know who's going to want to take over for that 600 meters. I figure about 600 in, the last K is just going to be a bloodbath. It's just going to be them like prize fighters just hitting each other and seeing who can hang the longest. And so it's going to be a race. I think there's going to be some upsets. I think going to be some huge performances. My sleeper pick is Cole Hawker for medaling, and so I think he showed that he can close off of a fast pace. I mean, at the U.S. Champs, he ran 30, which is, for listening, like a 3:47 mile, and he closed in 25.4 seconds for the last 200. So he was absolutely sprinting the last two. And so if you can do that in a championship race, these guys are going to be tired. You're never going to say that in an interview, but they've just raced 2 hard rounds. Some of them have raced the repechage round, and it affects you, and obviously sleeping and traveling and the nerves and whatnot. So I mean, anything go. Obviously my money's Josh. I think no matter what anybody throws at him, he can handle it. He showed at Prefontaine that Jakob's favorite move is to close 600 out and destroy everybody and wind them down, and Josh did that to him and he had a response. So I think he took that comfort blanket from Jakob and Prefontaine, and now to be, I think it's just going to be those two guys. They might pull away a little bit, and I think it's going to be them. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them crawls across the line, but in a fast time.
What do you guys, Kyle, Shawnti, what are you guys thinking about? Whether it's, Shawnti, you mentioned 200. I haven't seen any results yet on that, so ruin it for me if you know the result. I decided today I want to watch all these things like real time from today. So what are you guys kind of looking forward to coming up?
Me personally, I'm really excited to see how these hurdles play out. The men's and women's hurdles, I think these are two of the most competitive events in in the Olympic Games. I mean, especially on the women's side, you have so many people that are running 12.2s, 12.3s, 12.4s. It's like I feel like it's going to be that race is going to be very similar to how the men's 100 was. It's going to be a close race, and it's going to be like the top girls that get in are going to be faster than we've ever seen. So I think that's going to be a super exciting race. But I think this Olympics has really lived up to the hype in itself. I think just because of how the last Olympics experience was, where there were not really any fans in the stands, and now you have a stadium, a brand new one that holds 75,000+ fans. It's like atmosphere is absolutely insane. It's been absolutely incredible. I mean, performances have been absolutely shocking. I mean, it's overall, it's just been a super exciting competition so far. So I think me being a track head that I am, I love watching everything. So from the hammer throw to discus to the 100, 15. I mean, I was even on the edge of my seat for the 5K, which is completely different for me. And and the outcome of that was absolutely incredible too, with Faith Kipyegon and a little bit of shoving and her DQ late in the race afterwards, and the Italian girl moving up, all the emotions that she's feeling, both sad and then excitement and everything else. It has been a shocker of an Olympics far.
Kyle, you're doing a really good job kind of like riding that razor's edge for me. Not what you're like teasing storylines, but you didn't quite tell me what happened. So we know I was talking with Natoya Gould. We're gonna have Natoya on the show in a few days. I think on Wednesday. She got caught up in a little bit of a bump in the final 100. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, wasn't a move forward. But Shawnti, what are you thinking? Do you want to make some predictions on women's hurdles or men's? Men's, yeah, Grant. Okay. Grant. Redemption. I mean, redemption seems like a bit of a storyline. I mean, if you can call winning silver, but you're still. Yeah. You're still trying to. He's going for gold.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know if you saw Crittenden's his repechage tactic today, but he was jogging it, which was kind of an interesting thing to see. I think he ran like 20 seconds.
I did hear about that. Nia Lee did it at trials, right?
At trials.
Yeah, and yeah. I'm like, I'm not a total fan of it because you could, but it was just you have to finish, right? I mean,
yeah, you just have to finish
you
because
could crawl.
They were going to the repechage round. I mean, which is a blessing for some people. But then he did an interview afterwards, and he was saying that his body just wasn't feeling the best, so it might be a little tweak or an injury somewhere that he felt. And, it just, I think for him being in the position that he was in USA was definitely could have been in the contention to sweep just because of how strong our three male hurdlers are. He's just giving himself an round and, is leaving himself in an area if it's an injury where he's just trying to let that be more severe than he's trying to make it seem. It could really cause a lot more or stress, wear and tear on his body and in the repechage round or whatever. But, for him, he seemed confident with his decision. And, in his case, the repechage is a blessing for him that he at least gets one more to try to get into that next round. So, it was an interesting tactic, but that he has that and has that maturity to know that that's what he needed to do is a cool thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
Shawnti, I want to pull out of you the women's 100. Your prediction there.
The women's 100 hurdles or
hurdles? I mean, hurdles.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it'll be a good race. Right now, I think Masai has the fast time going. Yeah. I want her to pull it off, but I train. Well, I don't train with Akira, but I watch her train. I know how hard she train. And of course, I'm gonna be a little biased because I kind of know her. But I think it'll be a nice race in the finals. If all girls do what they're supposed to and stay on top of like the rounds and stay on top of their bodies, I feel like it'll be a really good race. I don't know who I have right now.
How about you, Henry? Who do you have there?
In the 100-meter hurdles?
Yeah, the women's.
I don't know, honestly. I'm not good about knowing every single event super well, but
that's one you got to dig into.
I'm actually looking at the entries right now to try to figure something out. But
I think this is like at least 5 women, or I think there'd be more. Like you could race, 10 times and have 10 different
winners.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
those are the ones I like watching the most. Where it's like,
go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say. I mean, you watch the 110-meter hurdles in Grant Holloway's. It's like he pretty much has to win. So it's cool to have a race where it's really up in the air like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is my sleeper pick, but it can't be a sleeper because she's amazing. Devin Charlton. So Devin's agreed. She's agreed to come on to the show after her event, after she brings home some hardware.
Okay, that's nice.
And then we want to get Jasmine on the show as well. Laquan says he's going to make it happen. So we'll see. So tomorrow, like this is how we got to 90-minute shows the last Olympics, because we started to get, we haven't even touched on this and this. There's only 7 minutes left in the show, but somehow, and we haven't even dug into all these other places. Like one, I wanted to kind of dig into. It was crazy how far back Noah was in those last like 3 strides or something. Like that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
His closing speed is something I've never seen. I mean, he has that down to T, most definitely. I mean, that's what makes him so great and so exciting to watch, though, because it's like he can stir so many things up. It's like they actually released the breakdown of the 10-meter splits for the race, and going into at 30 meters, he was by the stats he was in last, and it was consistent that in each 10-meter split you just see him like track down time and track down time and track down time until he's the ultimate winner. So it's incredible. It's really incredible to see.
Yeah, I was studying those splits too. Fred was first, I think, first or second the entire race into the end, and he was my pick for the win.
Yeah,
but I loved Fred's tweet, so we retweeted.
Yeah,
that was a good ass race.
Yeah,
that was the tweet.
That was funny.
You can't really beat that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're actually doing 2 shows. If any of you guys want to join me, right now it's just going to be me and Chase Jackson. So Chase is going to be dialing. So I'm going to do that show at noon to accommodate her in Paris. That'll be a good interview. I love Chase. I think most fun, interesting people. Like, I was just talking about it earlier. Like when I first met her, she had like 2,000 followers on Instagram. She's over 100,000 now.
Jeez.
And just that move that she made from the U.S. to then train in the UK, I want to talk to her about that. That kind of changed her whole. I don't know what happened over there, but we're gonna find out. Because she went from a very good shot putter to an amazing shot putter, and that's another event. The women's shot put is another one I'm really interested in watching.
Yeah,
I said it last time, right, Henry, when we were talking, like, you've been on the most shows out of this group, and this is the greatest era of track, and there's more depth in more sports and more events than at any time in history, right? I mean, so I keep kind of reiterating that to trying to, I feel like a preacher saying, hey, you guys should be watching, because these are the best athletes in men's shot put, the best athletes in women's shot put, best athletes in 100-meter hurdles, right? So this is a great era to be a fan of track and field, for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Definitely getting spoiled.
We are. Somehow we're out of time, but yesterday, I don't know if you guys watched our show yesterday. It was a breakdancing episode. And so we had breakdancing as an Olympic sport. We did an episode in the Science of Movement featuring B-Boy Nino and his mentor, Quick Step, who I've known for a very long time. And Quick is a legendary. He's in the Breakdancing Hall of Fame. He's an amazing DJ as well. But he's kind of he's the grandfather of hip-hop and B-Boy culture. So it's a really interesting show. So if you haven't seen it, go on our YouTube channel and watch it. But how we've struggled, before we get our shout-outs, we've struggled with our endings. And I knew Quick Step would come up with something. So Quincy, if you want to drop that in, and everybody, again, you control the volume on that media player when it comes in here. I don't think we're going to top this as an ending, but I'm going to show it to you guys now, so you have like 4 or 5 seconds to figure out how we want to end this show. So Q, if you got that, drop it in. In the meantime, while we're waiting for him, I'll do some shout outs. Big shout out to VIZIO. So we have a nice distribution partnership going with these guys. It's they're kind of behind us and doing a lot of marketing across all of their channels. So you can find not only some movement, you can find Superhuman Stories there, another one of our shows, and the Brains Behind the Beast, which is a show that we did with Henry and Brooks Beast, kind of an embedded show. Then that's super cool during World Championships a few years ago. But we have a lot of other content too. So we've like packaged together our one-on-one episodes, which are those ones where the athletes interview themselves. So if you haven't seen that series, that's a good one to do. The other thing I found out is I have Apple TV or an Apple, plug-in or whatever to my TV, and so I did a search for Science Of, and our show popped up as the first position. So if you are on Apple, you can find us. So that came through Curiosity Stream. So when you click on it, it points you to Curiosity Stream, which is another one of our distribution partners. So it seems like every day we're kind of growing the distribution. I also decided to continue this show for the Paralympics. We did a great show with Blake Leaper, and kind of inspired me. And so we're starting to line up Paralympians to feature. So I think next week we'll probably, finish this show probably a day after the Olympics, I bet. I'm going on a little bit of a vacation back to Michigan, but we're going to bring in, we're going to start episodes leading up to the Paralympics. And that'll be cool because what I want to bring in is, Olympian hosts with Paralympian guests. And so I think that'll be really fun as well. Quincy might be having trouble with that link. So I think we should do our shouts around the horn. Henry, maybe, you're the vet of our show. So maybe we start with you.
I know what to shout out. I want to shout out my Stanley to keep me hydrated. I appreciate them. Shout out, I started playing the guitar a year ago, so if anybody is watching has any tips, songs they want me to listen to, or learn, let me know. That's my hobby these days. So shout out guitar playing, I guess. I don't know.
I'll give a quick shout out to my guy, best training partner ever, Wynne of Estonia, just for finishing 5th in decathlon. Not many people know he's been through a lot. Just turned 30 years old, and this is his first Olympics, but he's one of the most decorated Estonian decathletes is. And to put Olympian on top of all that, on top of his 5 World Championship teams that he's been on as well, he is going to go down Estonian history, and to see a PR at the biggest stage and some great PRs with the competition as well is absolutely huge. So big shout out to him. I'm super excited, super proud for him, and I think he's got a big future in this, and especially next year in Tokyo. I'll be excited.
It's a much nicer shout out than mine. I guess I could shout out one of my teammates.
Guitar playing is great, man.
I've done a few shout outs already.
That was a twist, Henry. The shout out was really a request for services of some sort. Advice
yeah. You got to make the most of the shout out.
Hey, while you're there, why don't you shout out some guitar company or something? Maybe we bring them in as a sponsor.
Average guitar player, let me know. I'm Wynne by the phone.
Hey, you don't have to be. That actually should be our outro to the show. You and your guitar, and then every episode you get better. You've kind of rewritten the outro music every episode.
Now we're thinking. Now I see where we're going with this.
This is a sponsorable moment. We could definitely get someone in. Shawnti, who do you want to shout out?
I have to shout out to my sponsor, Brooke. I'm getting my first NIL, and yeah.
I mean, you could shout out your dog. You could shout out your sister.
I'm gonna shout out my training partner. Well, she's not really my training partner, but we're pretty close. She didn't have a good season last year, and she opened up with 49.9. That's a PR. She went from 3 to 49, and she got second in the mixed relay, and she got the world record for USA, Kim Brown. I was her, and the rest of my teammates had a lot of them. But there was freshmen.
Amber Anning was right there as well. Right? That was pretty cool.
Nikisha ran a day. A lot of them ran a day, but I choose them because we both was fresh this year. And I know it's a pretty big year for her.
It's cool. I want to do one more shout out before we try to top the outro. We're gonna fix that for next show. So you can watch the next show. You're going to see this. Well, you can go watch the breakdancing episode, and you're going to see the best outro there's ever going to be on the show. Like, we might want to just like
until my guitar solo.
Until the guitar solo. That will be sponsored. The guitar solo. You should do like a 1970s guitar solo. It'll be like a 5-minute riff of something, and just keeps playing, and we all leave, and you're on stage.
No, everybody has to stay. Obviously, nobody's allowed to leave.
So I want to do a big shout out to HSS Hospital for Special Surgery. They sponsored the Science of Movement show. I loved producing that show. I think we produced a really, really cool 10-episode series. And again, if you haven't seen it, you should. It's fun. I've binged it myself. I try to step back and then watch it as a viewer after being in the weed of it for so long. So it's a fun show, cool show. Gives us some insights. Every time I meet you guys, I keep learning more and more and more, which is what I love. That's why I love talking to you guys about track and field sports in general, right? So I learned from you, Henry. Hey, we're not gonna get a supplement sponsor.
Hey, they come in handy,
We could get a sleep sponsor.
Sleep's the most important thing you can do. It's boring, but
one of the
nobody likes that answer. Just sleep more.
just nobody likes that answer, but there's a lot of money in mattresses these days. Sure. Casper mattress, shout out.
8 Sleep. I got one of my buddy works there. Shout out Mike.
Mike at 8 Sleep. I'm gonna hook up with him on LinkedIn. Let's get him in. Let's go.
It's funny.
All right, guys. Who's gonna come up with our outro? See, we can't stop the show. We don't know how to get out of this. Shawnti, what do we do to end the show?
I don't know.
That's an answer. So basically, Kyle, this is your second time on. I would think you're a preparation kind of guy.
Getting there.
I would think you come up with a slight improvement from our peace out, but
Well,
maybe that's all we got.
I think what would be cool real quick around if we can get quickly the finals that'll be tomorrow and just a quick prediction of the finals that are going tomorrow. I think that'd be a cool way to kind of end it, just to listen to tomorrow's me watching and everything else.
I like that.
That's good.
All right. And so we're just going to stick to track and field? All right. Tomorrow. Yeah, because otherwise we'll never get off. So tomorrow is August 6th. So we got, 1,500 heats and then 15 final. Well, let's end there. We got jab, hurdles. Okay, final. Okay, finals are hammer throw, long jump, teen, 3,000 steeplechase, and 200.
Ooh.
I don't know much about hammer. So, Kyle, that's all you.
Is it men's or women's?
Let's see. It is. Oh, it's women's.
Okay. Yeah, that's
we can skip that
one. Yeah, we can skip that one.
Our ending is so down dramatically. Let's do this. Let's do long jump, 15, and the 200.
All right, cool.
Let's just stick with those. Cool. Long jump is men's.
Men's long jump. I think I have the Greece athlete. I have him winning. I think it's going to be tough for guys to beat him, but I think the young kid, I'm blanking on his name right now. I think he could be a sleeper in it. If he pops off a good jump, I think just his younger body, I think he's very springy. I want to see him be at that podium after tomorrow.
All right. What about you, Shawnti? Which direction are you going? What prediction?
For long jump?
You could do long jump. You could do all of them if you want, or just one.
Long jump. I haven't been paying attention, to be honest. I've only really watched the finals for long jump because that's when it starts getting interesting. Because I really don't know what's going on or the measurements. I just see the jump far.
What about all right? 200 women. Who do you like for the 200 women? 200.
I think Gabby. Julian. I think it'll be close between her and Julian. I think Gabby will pull it off. My prediction before was Sharika. Yeah. That was my prediction before, but now it's Gabby. For sure.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 15. I'm just going 1,500 only. I'm going Josh. I think we're kind of all.
1,500.
Now the only real one that matters, Josh Kerr winning tomorrow.
Yeah, I got that.
Do you have a winning time, Henry?
Oh my gosh. 3:27:93.
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that.
Write it down. Write it down.
I think it's gonna be fast. It's gonna be fast.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fast final.
I think we really are gonna have.
Let's see what the Olympic record is. I think they'll beat the Olympic record. 3:28:32. Yeah, they're gonna go faster than that.
And what's your prediction?
3:27:93. I think Kyle's got it written down.
Yeah, I got you. Yep.
And if it doesn't happen and Josh doesn't win, I don't want to hear from anybody for a few days. Just decompress.
All right, but here you have to do this though, Henry. If he does win, you have to come on, do the guitar riff ending to the show.
I'll create a song for him. Jakob's already made his rap song, so now Josh needs a more of an acoustic ballad, I think.
I like that idea.
That'd be great.
All right, guys, yeah. So tomorrow we do have 2 shows. I don't even know who's on the evening show. I can't remember. But we're trying to pull Devin Allen back into the captain's chair of the show, and but we have 2 shows, one at noon and one I think tomorrow's show is actually at 4 or 5. I don't know. But we'll put it out on Twitter. So that's it, Kyle. That's all we got.
Perfect.
That was good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you, Shawnti.